Hello everybody. So I'm still on my video setup and all of that stuff. Still working out of operating from the background of my lab studio tiny house. So I'm here to develop all of that stuff for the infrastructure. So kindly excuse if you are kind of offended by the normalcy of just another person who cares about the planet, who cares, talking from the normal everyday setup of living. Okay, so that's probably also one of the things that I'm trying to emphasize. We're all trying to be extraordinary people and forgetting the extraordinariness that is there in everyday normal life. In our struggle for being extraordinary, we may be hiding up what is obvious, or the different stages of work in progress, which may be like in our own private, in our own personal spaces, but never for anybody else to know. And when nobody else knows about it, they don't have a chance of either encouraging or criticizing or contributing in some way. So all our different work in progresses are either not even acknowledged that we are working on them, or we are hiding away in our own little spaces to be suddenly, brought onto this into somebody's awareness. And well, there are different ways of doing it, but the ordinary is not seen as good enough, which is not so very nice for a healthy society, for healthy development. So that's also one of the reasons why I think, even though it is not so very professionally or done with lighting and all that, I'm more speaking from a common everyday person ground, because I'm trying to, it's more like the movement of the dark-skinned person was in a world where there's a lot of fairness creams and all of that's being said, and the dark skin may not be being seen, acknowledged for, so I'm kind of doing the ordinary day normalcy as against the, be extraordinary, be, So having said that, the topic for today that I think is very important to be spoken about is the amount of rest that may not be being had by different people, different groups of people, different aspects of us may not be getting as much rest as is needed. I will speak about us, like as an individual, because an individual is the basic unit of a society, basic unit of, well, let's just say I know the world around me based on what I can see. Now, others can say a lot of philosophies and theories, but they are philosophies and theories that I can read about, but I may not be able to relate with, because what I see is what I know as the world is. So, and this is what I see. I am presuming that every person who opens their eyes, what they see, how they see the world, is actually how the world is for them. No matter what they say in the movies, what they say in the newspapers of how life should be, this is how life is, what I see. So I'm sharing what I'm seeing and what I'm learning and hoping to reach out and connect. And it's a nice world. So this is what I'm seeing. So from several factions, I have noticed that when I'm sharing, they seem to sort of connect with something that they may have not seen before, or they may be connecting with themselves or with life in a way that they may have wanted to, or they may thought was possible, or in some way they do connect. So in all of that, I'm sharing this. So again, to rest. Now, it's like people keep talking about work-life balance. I find that to be an anomaly, because work is part of life. You have one life. I mean, each of us have one life, of which the relationships we have, fun we have, entertainment, work, a personal thing, a personal life, what happens, our hobbies and interests, all of this is different. It's like different departments of one life. So when we say work-life balance, it seems like an anomaly, doesn't quite fit as well. I mostly think it is work-rest balance. We have different ways by which people work but not be having sufficiently rest. Like, say for example, if a person is much emotionally involved in their area of work, then their emotions need periodic rest. So what you use more, that's like a muscle that can get tired. If you're constantly using your muscle to do physical work, then your muscles need rest. If you're constantly using your brain, your intellect to do work, then periodically you need your intellect needs rest. Yeah. If you are a spiritual enthusiast and you are constantly giving discourses to people, then your spirit needs a little bit of periodic rest so that you can take a breather. If you are a caretaker and you're constantly caring for others, then your I call as the caring muscle needs periodic rest. You need time where you don't really care for anybody. You don't have to care about anything, so that your caring muscle can get sufficient rest, so that you can now, okay, after the rest, you can come back to, okay, now going and caring again. Any muscle, if it's overexerted, can either become stiff. Every muscle goes through contraction and relaxation. Yeah, even just like the heartbeat, you can connect with it. A heart, does a lub-dub, expansion, contraction. The respiratory rhythms, it expands and contracts. Yeah, so that's how it works. Similarly, every muscle does the same expansion, contraction. You can read about it in the anatomy and physiology on Google. There are several sources from which you can see how a muscle works. Any muscle, even the nervous system, can be seen as a sort of a muscle which periodically must get rest for it to function optimally. Yeah. So what I was saying is, if a muscle, whichever muscle, even an emotion can be called as a muscle, because that involves several hormones, it involves several muscular, an emotion can be in isolation, but it's almost always related with a physical experience, maybe through the muscles, the nervous system. An emotion may not just be just there. You can't just take an emotion in the hand like that. It's not something that can be isolated without it being in some way connected to your physical experience, to your body, to your body definitely, to your nervous system, to your muscular skeletal system. Maybe not to the skeletal system, but it's definitely there in the muscle and nervous system. So any muscle that you constantly use, be it emotion, intellect, spirit, yeah, whichever muscle, even the muscle of will, if you're constantly being willing for something, willing to do something, that will needs to rest periodically so that you have the oomph with which to go into work again. Any muscle which is constantly exerted could become either stiff or it could get flabby, because it's been working so much it just goes, yeah. Or it could either get stiff, or it could get flabby, or it could fracture, which means you could have actually a muscle tear, or you could have some form of a nervous breakdown about that aspect, because it's been so constantly being used that it is not getting sufficient rest. Yeah. And or have its own emotional, different kinds of interactive deficits from it not being available. Or you could simply become ill or become incapacitated, and then you need to take so many days off to repair, recuperate, come back, which may not be, so economically viable. So whatever you're constantly exercising more often, take some time to rest that aspect of you, and you will notice a marked difference in your state of well-being and in your ability to contribute to yourself and to others by having this faculty through the exertion of these muscles well taken care of and in good health. Okay. Thank you for listening. I will make a better video in course of time. So, thank you.